Beshear. And not only that, but you all are so well supported and loved by our mayor, Mayor Greg Fischer. And most importantly, I feel, Dr. Donna Hargens, who is working extremely hard, but smart every day to make sure that our kids are going to be able to go to college or have a career after they leave high school. So, right now, I would like to bring up Mayor Greg Fischer, and I don't know if you all are aware, but he has spent a lot of time coming into your schools and talking about a program called Close the Deal, where he speaks with the students and makes sure that they understand the requirements that it takes to go to college, and that they have the capacity and the capability to do that. So he cares deeply about education, and so, Mayor Fischer, I'd like for you
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for your
Good morning.
thanks for your all's leadership to be here. Sure, I care about your kids. I mean, they're our future workforce, and we're the most compassionate city in the world, so they're our future and present, I should say, compassion challenger or compassion champions as well. When we set our world record for compassion, we couldn't have done it without JCPS. And I really want to commend Donna and their commitment to service learning. About half of the kids in JCPS participated in some type of service project this past April that helped us get over 115,000 volunteers in the community for Give a Day, which I think is fantastic. We all know we're here for a greater purpose, to make the world a better place, and we learn that through service. Right now, the way I'm looking at the city is we've got to have quality of people, we got to have quality of place, and we have to have a culture of achievement at the same time. So when we take a look at our people challenge in terms of preparing folks for the workforce, look at it in 4 verticals. One is getting kids ready for school, pre-K, universal pre-K. The data now is overwhelming that an at-risk child will enter kindergarten 3 years behind a kid from a thriving environment. So how do you ever catch up if you're 3 years behind at age 6? This is a big problem, for the United States of America, for cities like Louisville, for states like Kentucky as well. So as a community, we've got to figure out how to attack that particular gap. Then after pre-K, we have the K-12 program. Fortunately, we have great momentum in Jefferson County right now with K-12. When Dr. Hargens came to town, I said, Don, I just have one request, please. Let us embrace the goal of being the best large public urban school district in the country. Now, we've got to acknowledge we are not, and we will embrace that data, and we call it a weakness approach, and we'll attack that gap. She's way ahead on all that. It's like old news to me, Mayor. So I really, really want to applaud the tremendous work that Donna Hargens is doing. I'm not worried about spending the mayor's capital on K-12 anymore. We just support her. Anything she asks us to do, we do it. And the Close the Deal program is a big part of that. When I go into the high schools that you all represent here, for those in the high school level, and I talk to the kids about being college and career ready, and I don't apologize to them. I say, look, just having a high school degree anymore does not cut it. Okay, you'll be struggling the rest of your life financially, and you better be darn sure you got somebody to take care of you, because you're not going to be able to economically. Now, how many of y'all have somebody that's going to take care of you? I say, and of course, nobody raises their hand. So it may not be a 4-year degree, but I hope it is. And maybe they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever they think. That's fine. And maybe it's a 2-year technical degree. That's good too. At least get some type of technical certificate.
Right.
Plumbers make 60 grand a year. An auto mechanic makes 70 grand a year. Go into the military. But you've got to do something beyond getting a high school degree. So I emphasize that with them. Then I also ask them, please get an international experience as part of the next phase of your life. Now, a lot of kids look at me like, what are you talking about? But the reality is that we're in a rapidly changing world right now. And employers value folks that speak another language or have spent time in another country, because that gives them a larger global perspective. And a lot of the kids don't look at themselves that way. But I said, go to school at the University of Hong Kong. If you're going to the University of Louisville, you can go to the University of Hong Kong for study abroad at the same price. So step out of your comfort zone. And as you all well know, in high school, a lot of kids act tough and they act like they got all the answers. And that's really just a shell for insecurity that they have, and we need to push them out a little bit. So that's the second vertical, K-12. The third vertical then is our 55,000 degree program, 55,000 more college degrees in the community by the year 2020. We're on track to achieve that. When we achieve that, we'll be in the top quartile of American cities with college-educated adults, either 2-year degrees or 4-year degrees. And there's a direct correlation between that, innovation, opportunities, jobs that pay higher wages. So 55,000 degrees, please help us in that effort. And then the fourth vertical is just what we call 21st century workforce. Are our educational institutions preparing kids that can thrive in the 21st century, which is a century that's based on innovation? Okay, it's no longer good enough just to show up with a good work ethic and a strong back. You also have to show up with an innovative and creative mind. So we need to make sure that we have a good connection between the needs of the workforce and what's coming out of our educational institution at the same time. So you'll hear me talking a lot about that as we bring the different parts of the community together. And the good news is a lot of the community is working on these things. So we just got to make sure we're working together. We reduce any waste in terms of redundancy so that we can all prepare our kids to be a great 21st century workforce and take care of us when we get old. There you go. Last thing, I talk about our key values that drive the city every day. First is lifelong learning. Obviously, we're here for that. The second is a healthy city. And by that I mean physical health, mental health, environmental health, and spiritual health. And the third value is how can we be an even more compassionate city? And a big part of compassion is citizenship. So I wanted to thank you guys. What you're doing here today for your kids and for our community and for our state is citizenship. You're stepping up on your own time, realizing that part of our individual responsibilities is to help the broader picture of who we are as a city and a state. That takes great leadership. So I really appreciate that from the mayor's office for you all being great leaders here today. I know you're going to have a great session over the next 2 days, so thank you very much. I would now like to introduce the country's best public school superintendent. Please welcome.
Fischer talk because he talks about those pillars and he just gets you all excited about learning. And what we know is that health supports learning, and there's really research that says when kids do acts of compassion, it supports learning as well, and students achieve more. So we did the acts of compassion not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's the right thing to help students learn. And you know that I'm always excited about where we are in the school year. We are on day 40 already of the 13-14 school year. And I know you're on the second session and day 3, right, of your journey for learning. So we know that we have this vision in our school system that all JCPS students will graduate prepared to reach their full potential and contribute to society throughout life. And as the mayor said, is how are we going to get there? And it's a big how are we going to get there? How are we as a community going to get there? You are so important. When I woke up this morning, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be in a room with the mayor and with the governor and with people who have committed themselves to learning about how they can start a movement of parent engagement in the Jefferson County public school system. So I kept thinking, wow, wow. And of course, when the governor's here, you know how important you are to the future of this community and to the future of the Commonwealth. So I so much appreciate the governor's leadership with this Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership, because it is exactly what we need to be working on. Students only learn when we as adults say that learning is important, and we encourage them through the struggles and the joys of learning. They can do whatever it is that we expect them to do as long as we support them. So I see you, and I see, like I said, almost like this powerful wave that you're going to create in this community about taking what you learn and changing the schools that you're associated with and the community by being the leaders. So this is a powerful, small group, but you are rock stars. And I am so excited about what you're learning and what you're going to do. But like I said, it's an honor to be with you. It's always an honor to be with our mayor. But it really is an honor to get to introduce Governor Steve Beshear. We all know that he was elected in 2007 and was re-elected in 2011. Through his efforts, Kentucky became the first in the nation to adopt the Common Core standards, which has helped our state be viewed as the national leader in educational reform. And every conference I go to, people say, I want to know about what Kentucky is doing, and we wish that we were leading like Kentucky is leading. And additionally, the Governor and First Lady Jane Beshear spearheaded a successful push to raise the dropout age from 16 to 18. With initiatives spanning from early childhood and kindergarten to college and career readiness, Governor Beshear has demonstrated a commitment to improving education in Kentucky. Governor Beshear is a native of Dawson Springs, Kentucky. He holds a bachelor's degree and law degree from the University of Kentucky and served in the U.S. Army Reserve. He and his wife, Jane, have been married since 1969. They have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Steve Beshear.
First of all, I do acknowledge that I have 2 degrees from UK, but I wore my red tie. First of all, let me acknowledge the leadership that this community gives in the education field, not only for this community, but for this state. Obviously, the mayor is a passionate advocate for education. He knows how important it is. He knows that this city will not be successful if we don't step up and improve the education of the people who live here. Donna Hargens is doing a fantastic job here leading the largest school district in our state. She's got a great board, a progressive board she works with. She's got a great partnership she's put together, not only with that board, but with the teachers, with the staff, with the administrators. You know, you're not going to have a successful school system unless everybody, from people working in the cafeteria, to people teaching, to people driving buses, to people running the school system, unless they're all on the same page. And she has been able to do that here in Jefferson County. I'm very proud of that. On a state level, the chairman of the State Board of Education is a fellow named David Karen, who some of you all might know. He's a former state senator. He's Jefferson County resident, and he and that board are giving great leadership on a statewide level. So thanks to this community for pushing this community and this state forward. I'm also very proud of you and excited about you participating in this Commonwealth Institute on Parent Leadership. You know, this started back in, I believe, 1997, when the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence began the Institute for Parent Leadership, because they knew even then just how important it is to the education of our children for parents to be involved. If parents aren't involved, it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. There was a study that was done just last year, a scientific study, and it concluded that parent involvement in schools is a more important factor in student achievement than the quality of the school itself. Think about that. even if you don't have much quality in the school, if you've got active parent involvement, those children can learn and will learn. So that's just how important it is for you and what you are doing. There's been about 1,600 people going through, that have gone through what you are now going through in this institute. Learning about how school systems operate, how to read a budget and figure out where the money's being spent, what goes on in schools every day, how you as a parent not only can be more involved yourself, but how you can get other parents to be involved because of the way you can convince them and you can teach them how to do this. And those 1,600 folks, that's what they've been doing since 1997, is pulling more parents in and engaging more parents all across this state in the effort to make sure that our parents are there for our kids. You know, Donna mentioned, and I want to reiterate, our state is on the cutting edge of education reform in this country. Now, you may not have thought about that much, and the general public may not really hear that much. But if you go into the education circles all over this country, and as Donna mentioned, she's gone to conferences all over this country, and everywhere you hear, wow, how are you all doing that in Kentucky? How are you out there leading this nation? We were the first state to adopt the Common Core standards. You know, now 47, 48 other states have done that. Kentucky was the very first state to step up and do that. We were the second state to just recently adopt the next generation science standards for our schools. We, as Donna mentioned, after 5.5 years of struggle, passed a law to raise our dropout age from 16 to 18 in Kentucky. And I must give credit where credit's due. My wife Jane did it, and I was along for the ride. She was a tireless advocate for that. And time after time, we would go through a legislative session, and we might get it past the House, but not past the Senate. There was always some roadblock. And at the end of that session, she'd look at me and say, "We're not done yet. We're going to get this done." And she just continued to push and continued to push. Finally, we found a compromise. It was not something that we would have preferred, but it was something that would get it on the books. And we were able to reach agreement and pass a law that said, okay, every district can adopt this policy on a voluntary basis. And when 55% of our districts across the state adopt it, then it will become mandatory statewide. Well, Jane and myself and our Commissioner of Education, Terry Holliday, sat down and we were planning a campaign. I mean, we were going to go out across the state. We were going to be in every school district. I was going to do whatever it took, from twisting arms to taking names, to try to get these districts to adopt this and to make it mandatory. Folks, that law became effective June the 25th. And in 2 weeks, we had over 55% of the districts that stepped up voluntarily and adopted that, and it's going to be mandatory statewide now. And that tells me something. That tells me something about our education all across this state. They know. They were ready. And they couldn't wait to put that policy into place. And so that is such a positive force out there that you and I as parents and grandparents have to work with to make our systems even better. Early childhood education and development, and the mayor mentioned that, and how important it is. We haven't had much money since I've been governor. You know, I came in as governor in December of 2007. In January of 2008, the recession hit us flat in the face. as the worst recession of our lifetimes. I've never experienced anything any worse. My parents did when they went through the Great Depression back in the 1930s. But for us, this is the worst financial time that any of us have ever gone through. And so instead of adding money here and there in our budget at the state level, we had to cut just to keep our budget balanced. And over the last 5.5 years, I've had to cut about $1.6 billion out of our spending at the state level to keep our budget balanced. And we did it, but we didn't do it with a meat axe. We didn't just come in and say, let's just cut everything across the board, because as important as everything that state government does is to somebody, there are a few things that are more important than everything else. And I said from the very beginning that educating our kids was the most important investment that we made of a tax dollar in Kentucky. And so we committed ourselves to make that the priority for spending. And because we did that, everybody came together and held that foundation of spending and education together. Now, I'm not saying it didn't suffer. The mere fact that we didn't increase it caused suffering because we had more kids entering the system every year. But we held it steady to where now that we're coming out of this recession, we're coming out of it a lot faster than most other states because we held that foundation of education together. Other states are going to have to rebuild that foundation. We're already there, and now we've got that to build on. I mentioned the early childhood education. While we were going through this, while we didn't really have extra money to put in anything, we didn't stand still. We brought the public and private preschool sectors together. Head Start, our school sector, the private centers that are out here across the state, and they all sat down together, and we came to an agreement on a common definition of what kindergarten ready meant. You know, what skills do children need to have in order to be successful in kindergarten and ready to go? And then we have taken that definition, and just this year we've instituted in every kindergarten in our state a kindergarten entry screening program. It's a test of sort, but you can't pass or fail it. It is a snapshot of every child entering kindergarten from a holistic viewpoint. Their motor skills, their thinking skills, their problem-solving skills, their memory skills, all of those things, to give our teachers a snapshot of that child so that they can sit down and prepare individual plans for each one of those children to try to make sure that during that year that they're in kindergarten, we can work on whatever the shortcomings are and get them ready for the first grade. And so that's going to help us tremendously in that push and that fight to try to make sure that each child is ready to learn by the time they get to the first grade. Our ultimate goal in all of our efforts is to make sure that our kids are college and career ready when they come out of our school system. And that's a big goal, but we are making tremendous progress on it, but we won't be able to get there without you. So once again, thank you for the commitment you've made, because this is a commitment, and I know it. The time this takes is significant. But, my friends, it'll be well worth it. It'll be well worth it because you're not only going to have an effect on your child or your grandchildren, you're going to have an effect on a lot of children and a lot of other parents. Because when you get engaged, other people are going to see that, and you'll be able to bring them in and get them engaged. And we're going to end up with even better schools than what we have right now. But we can't relax, and we can't sit down and take a deep breath because we've got too much to do. But you can help us get there. So thank you very much for being a part of this.
Well, thank you very much. It's just really exciting for us to hear how supported we are and how important our work is and that it's valued. And I greatly appreciate all of you coming and making sure that they know that. And I'd also like to welcome, we have a couple of Pritchard Committee members here. We have Al Cornish, who you met at the first session with Norton Healthcare, and Julie Schmidt is in the back of the room, and she's with KET. So they are here as members of the Pritchard Committee to also share their greetings with you, and feel free to talk to them if you would like. And while we have the opportunity, we haven't taken our class picture yet, so I want to try to endeavor to have us all move to the lobby and so that we can take a picture, our class picture, with our guests that are here today. So
You can kind of do this and expedite quick.